I don't want to go over the same ground again.
Yeah,
I
but you're
think you
doing
and I need to have a face-to-face, but there were sufficient funds put aside for settlements
No, they were
based
not
on a
sufficient.
sufficient amount being given as opposed to the amounts that were given.
You don't want
And
to
you
go
know
through
about the dispute that existed between you and the previous CFO about what those increases should have been.
The CFO
But
would
you and
not
I
talk
should
to
have that discussion privately.
I'd gladly have this discussion with you. I've said that before, I'll say it again, but you continue to wait to these meetings to come up and address it. You have yet to knock on my door or say, I am available, let's talk. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I've sat down with you already. I've already explained what you call sufficient was very insufficient. I've explained it. When you and I sat in that office, you nodded your head in agreement at that
I
time.
didn't nod it in agreement. I didn't frankly understand what you were trying to explain to me because it didn't make any sense in normal labor relations discussions that take place in New Jersey in the public sector. Let me go on to another question. Social Security appropriations in the three funds are between 23% and 38% higher. Why is that the case?
I know that the salary and wage line items have gone up considerably between the 2 years, so
Between 2025 and 2026.
That's correct. So I assume that the largest portion of that is just proportional to the salary and wage increases, which I don't think is I don't think that is 23%, but I will say that we made those calculations based on the salary wages. So I didn't go back to the previous years and say, oh, okay,
Okay.
what did we spend this year? What we spent this year? I actually did a calculation. Here are the salary wages. Here's what social security contribution is likely to be based on those salary wages, and I budgeted accordingly.
In the current fund, 4 appropriations were identified. Administrator's Office, Finance Department, Revenue Administration, where the salaries and wage accounts for those went up $191,250. What was the need for an increase of such a large amount?
Well,
I can go ahead. Well, one of the first things is obviously CFO was hired. So that's the largest portion of the expense. So if you look at the salary and wage line item under finance on sheet 12, I believe. 12, 13.
Well, okay, that explains 53,250.
Well,
But what about the
that's not,
65,000?
90,000 of it is that line item, and you'll see that there's accompanying reduction in other expenses. Because the other expenses, that's where they were paying,
That was the
Price.
contract for Ms. Larison.
that is correct.
Yes.
So, but we did actually have that line item actually would have come down even more. We actually paid Ms. Larison about $15,000 or $20,000 out of that account already, so we're kind of double paying for it. As far as the other, I think that the other increases is in the general administration. I think there's a large increase in the salary and wages there.
Yes,
A lot of that-
65,000.
A lot of that had to, we revisited some of the allocations that we had in the past, split between the sewer and the beach and the current fund. And it was a policy decision that was made that we were allocating somewhat too large a portion to the utilities, and we brought that back into the current fund. As a result of that change, we actually created additional cap space in our budget as a side, benefit.
Appropriations cap.
Yes, and we're able to modify the appropriations cap based on bringing appropriations that were previously paid for out of the utility funds into the current fund.
Mr. Fehrenbach, I'm sorry, one comment. I just want to acknowledge to the public, I'm intentionally allowing Mr. Fehrenbach to go over, because I think these are important questions for the public to hear. So typically, we obviously hold folks to 5 minutes, but again, please continue with your questions.
Thank you very much. Public events increased 187% by 37,400. What changed there?
Yeah, we did talk about that. I'm pretty sure that we were previously allocating some of the costs out of operating expenses out of various line items, and we decided to reallocate some of those funds out of just a specific dedicated fund for public events. So I don't think that's so much as an increase in spending for public events. I think it's more that we grouped most of those expenditures within those line items. There probably is somewhat of an expense. I know there are some additional expenses related to, we're spending a little bit more this year with the 250th anniversary. I know there are some expenditures increases related to that as well. Because I think there's an $18,000 fireworks display. I know that we didn't have in the prior year budget, for instance.
On sheet 39, it indicates that there was, I'm going to say, a missed payment to the Board of Education in the vicinity of $585,000. Do you know what happened there?
You know what? I saw that myself. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I didn't ask about it. I did see that.
Mayor, do you have any idea?
No, other than you say missed, but it was presumably paid late, or do we have any indications for paid?
It becomes a charge against your surplus for 2026. Essentially a liability that you carried from last year into this year. So it wasn't paid last year, and I guess has to be paid this year. But my own personal experience is that when you're a day late with the Board of Education, you know immediately. So it's not clear to me what happened there, and I thought maybe you or Mr. Doherty or Mr. Syme would know.
Well, I do know that at this point, I don't know what was set up then. I know now that we're actually set up to, I have actually set up, as soon as I get the bill from them, they send the bill months in advance and how much it owes.
Yes.
And
I
I
remember.
actually have at this point set up automatic wire transfers coming directly out of our current fund account directly to school. So those are set up. We can't miss those payments at this. I know we won't miss them this year because they're essentially already set up in a system.
But at least on that particular item, I will follow up with you personally and make sure that we address it.
Okay. Any of the other questions I have, I'll raise later when I get a chance to meet. Thank you for the additional time.
Okay, thank you.